In the first part of this series, we unpacked what happened to the feminine, how her power was suppressed, distorted, and rewritten. But the imbalance we see today didn't just come from the loss of the feminine. It also came from what was taken from men. This isn't about blaming or shaming men. It's about telling the truth. Right now, many men and women are navigating life without real examples of healthy, grounded masculinity, not just in personal relationships, but in culture, religion, leadership, and family. Men didn't just wake up one day and decide to abandon their roles. The shift happened slowly, generation by generation, until manhood became something unrecognizable. Before masculinity became tied to dominance, it was tied to responsibility. In many ancient cultures, men had to earn their roles. Authority wasn't just given, you had to go through trials. You had to face yourself before you could be trusted to lead others. That's what built strength, character, and self-awareness. That's what made a man divine. In matriarchal cultures, women were the first initiators. A man had to be emotionally and spiritually prepared to enter her space. He had to be grounded, present, and in control of himself. When that happened, it changed how he showed up in the world. In Kemet, ancient Egypt, the gods Osiris and Horus represented different aspects of divine masculinity. Osiris ruled the underworld with wisdom. Horus carried justice and protection, but neither stood alone. They were balanced by Isis, goddess of magic, healing, and divine authority. In Sumer, the king Dumuzi ruled only as the consort of Inanna, the goddess of love, war, and transformation. His power was conditional. He had to die and be reborn. He had to submit to the feminine mysteries before he could lead. Even Shiva, one of the central deities in Hinduism, is incomplete without Shakti. He is consciousness. She is energy. Together they form creation itself. In Yoruba culture, Orisha worship taught men that power wasn't something you just had. It was something you had to respect. Obatala, a male deity of wisdom, peace, and purity, represented calm leadership, not impulsive control. Across these traditions, masculinity was tied to accountability and initiation. But over time, that changed, and the truth is, men were misled, sold a version of power that disconnected them from their emotions, from women, and from their own humanity. To dominate a people, you must not only suppress their feminine power, you must also redefine masculine identity to serve empire, not spirit. The Roman Empire was one of the first major systems to turn masculinity into a weapon. Under leaders like Augustus, manhood became defined by control, discipline, and domination. Real men were expected to be warriors, landowners, and strict enforcers of Roman rule. There was no room for emotion, intuition, or softness. Those qualities were seen as weak. The Roman paterfamilias model gave men total control over their households. Women and children weren't seen as individuals, they were treated like property. Early Christianity. By the 4th century CE, under Emperor Constantine, Christianity was adopted by the Roman Empire, and the balance between masculine and feminine was dismantled and replaced with strict hierarchy. God was recast as a singular male figure, and women were framed as dangerous, seductive, and spiritually inferior. Figures like Tertullian, who called women the devil's gateway, and Augustine, who claimed sex was sinful even within marriage, helped shape a belief rooted in fear and control. This is where celibacy became institutionalized as a way to separate men from their bodies, emotions, and natural desires. When power became about domination instead of discipline, men lost more than their connection to women. They lost connection to themselves. This didn't just harm women. It damaged men too, creating generation after generation of emotionally immature, spiritually disconnected men. The psychological impact runs deep. Instead of processing their emotions, many men began projecting them outward through violence, workaholism, addiction, emotional numbness, and sexual dominance or complete disinterest. Carl Jung wrote about the unconscious masculine shadow, the parts of a man's psyche that become destructive when they're ignored. When men aren't taught how to feel, they act out. When they're punished for crying, they bottle it up until it turns to rage. When they don't know who they are, they ghost, control, or shut down. Women have felt this absence deeply, not just romantically, but systemically. Women were left to raise families without emotional partnership. Girls grew up without fathers who could mirror healthy masculinity. Boys became men with no roadmap to balance or purpose. This imbalance is still playing out, and it's not sustainable. Restoring the masculine doesn't take away from the feminine, it strengthens her. When men are emotionally available, women don't have to carry the emotional load alone. It's not about being perfect, it's about being responsible. A healthy man knows how to hold space without needing to fix or control everything. He can hear someone say, "That hurt me," and not take it as an attack. He doesn't get defensive, he doesn't shut down, he listens, he reflects, he owns his part without making it about him. He sets boundaries without being cold. He shows strength without needing to overpower. He knows how to stay present even when things get uncomfortable. You see it in how he handles pressure, how he treats people he doesn't need anything from, how he reacts when he's told no. That's healthy masculinity, and that starts with work. Inner work, facing childhood wounds, grief, and patterns. Emotional intelligence, learning how to feel, communicate, and respond. Discipline, developing habits that create structure and accountability. Healthy relationships, with women, with other men, and with the earth. Accountability, owning past harm, not from shame, but from a willingness to grow. Men were never meant to rule over us. They were meant to walk beside us, and it's time they remembered that too.